And then last week we addressed the Florida A&M AD situation, and I was very balanced, voiced my concerns about where the transactions were, only to find out that we created a national controversy over $1,300 that was being paid back at the time of her getting the Florida A&M job. So just so we keep everybody aware, she made transgressions at Florida Sports Foundation. She was paying back those transgressions. She then gets the job at Florida A&M. She just switched agencies. She didn't go to private sector. She just switched agencies because that's all the university is to the state as an agency. She switched agencies. So I'm sure she was still paying that back at FAMU, which is why there was not the outrage from the board. I knew when St. Pete curved me like ain't nothing to see here, I should have known it was something up. Should have known. But again, I'm just thinking like a normal person. The university didn't immediately move to fire her. The Facebook alumni wasn't upset. Somebody knew something that we didn't. She was paying that money back the whole time. And I'm positive, like we alluded to on the show, because there were employees that were at the Florida Sports Foundation, came over to FAMU Board of Trustees as employees, in particular the general counsel. So somebody knew something. This was not a shot in the dark.
I mean, you also got to add that they wrote her a letter of recommendation to get the job at FAMU. So.
All of this transpired.
Of course they did.
Before.
Nah, TP, she was still working there while paying it back. That's what we saying.
No, I get that. I get that part.
But that's the what? Wait, what? Okay, because when you file something like that, for me, it's like, okay, she was under investigation. Maybe she heard she was under investigation and ran, and now the investigation complete. So they're like, all right, bow, there you go. We got you.
But my question is, if she was already paying funds back, was that part of a settlement? Was that the conclusion of the investigation? Because the school had to know that wasn't the end all be all when they signed that letter of recommendation to send her away. They took what they can get from her, but they already knew that she was still in trouble.
Everybody knew that she was. It is my belief. Everybody not only already knew she was in trouble, it was known that she was in trouble and she was paying it back.
Right. But the school would have had to know that wasn't the end of it. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So somebody has to. I mean, basically, it's a pushed agenda. We want this woman in as our AD. She should have been our AD from the get go. So somebody had to push in and say, "Hey, let's recommend her for the athletic director."
No, I don't think that was the agenda. So I'm on the other end. You can't steal $24,000 from me and still work for me. You got to go jail, hell, both. Not my problem.
But see, that somebody gonna find out. Like, you said that the Florida Sports Foundation is a $1 billion. It's a $1 billion entity, right? Because the sport is tied directly to the state government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some folks will look at $24,000 as it's a $1 billion entity as chump change, but somebody had look what I'm saying. They went into them books and said, "Hey,
let me tell you, Doc. Let me tell you what happened. Look, I'm gonna break it down for you.
Break it
They
down.
brought her in the conference room and put some papers on the table. We got you. What are you gonna do? She said, well, I can start paying some of this back. Can we work out something to keep this out of the public? And they said, sure, you can go ahead and start paying us back. And while she was paying it back, they was forwarding this information to the investigators while trying to get her out of there without it being a public display.
Yeah.
That's
But
what happened.
it wouldn't have been a public display either way because the number of people that actually know what the Florida Sports Federation is a drop in the bucket. She could have been fired, and everybody would be like, and life would have went on. It didn't have to be a public spectacle of being fired. To me, it came off as a political hit. And Troy hit on a lot of the issues last week with the Hope Foundation, and how Hope Foundation is also tied into losing $10 million, but then the $10 million have popped up collectively in other avenues. They got the alumni, the students, and the DSOs on their ass about 8-ball Marvel right now. What a better way to distract us is by throwing our beloved AD under the damn bus so we can not pay attention for a little while.
What if it was more than $24,000 and that's only what's
Yeah.
being reported?
Right.
But
No, that would have been filed.
That's
That's
my
the
original statement. If it was more than $24,000, then she most definitely should have been fired and already been in jail.
and that's
Okay,
the
so
other thing.
here's another question. How much was she paying back? Because this is what, 4 years now? 3 years?
It's 2 years.
2
2
years.
years.
It's 2
How
years.
much of that
She's
has been
paid
paid back?
all of it back except $1,300.
Which they could have took out of her last paycheck when she left. I would have been like, hey, I'm
But
taking
why
this
are we
money out of
here?
your check, but
So why?
That's
So then why are we here?
Because it's more political
but
to
hey,
what we're saying.
TP, now you where we are. Why are we here? Why are we at this juncture right now? What is going on?
Because the math ain't mathing
It's not.
when it comes to what's punitive, right? Because is she being charged with the original crime of it happening?
yes.
Because last time I
Yeah.
checked,
Yeah,
$1,300 wasn't a felony,
Right.
yes.
or if it is, it's the lowest grade felony.
$1,300 is a class A misdemeanor in Florida. Everything under
Right.
$5K is a misdemeanor.
Here in
And
here in Texas,
the-
it's anything 500 or more. That's considered a felony for us.
No, it ain't. No, it ain't. I have personal experience with something that was about $700.
Oh,
and
hell.
Oh,
it was
shit.
not a felony.
Yeah.
That's why I was
But
still able to join the Air Force. So yeah, it's not a felony. Under
It's
1,000
not
is
a
not a
felony.
felony.
They must have changed it then because I knew $500 more was like a low class felony though.
No,
Yeah.
but if it's 500 12 times, then yeah, that's a felony. If it's 500 one time, then okay, one time.
Yeah,
But that's why
there's other.
my fault. Go ahead, TP.
No, I'm just saying there's other scenarios that affect how they charge it.
Yep.
But the question that I have is, why is she being charged with the full amount 2 years later after paying 97% of it back?
they flood the zone. They are
But
not.
that's where we all at.
They flood the zone. That's what it is. That's the playbook. They flood the zone. This is the wildest thing about all of this. It is I'm personally handicapping what's gonna happen. It is 70%. I feel like 70% to 30%. She gonna keep her job.
I don't think we asking the right question.
No,
This is more.
hey, TP, we asking the right question. We might not be asking it out loud, but I already told you the answer to the question that you asking. That was a hit.
What does she know that people don't want her to know or don't want her to put into the public?
Well,
Right.
the last thing you want to do if somebody know where your bodies is buried is try to fucking send them to jail. Cause now I'm telling.
Unless this is a show of force, and then she still keeps her job, and then they like, hey, this is what we can do to you. This is somebody cracking the belt and saying, hey, we got you. We own you. Do not say anything about what we got going on, because we're showing you right now the power and the reach.
That goes back to the board. If anything, it could be a show of force because she hadn't said nothing about 8-ball or welcoming her to campus with open arms. She had not said a word. She been doing her job and staying out the way.
So it's like I said, it's more. To me, it's more. It looks like it's more political than anything else, because if you paying back that $24,000, all you got is $1,300, and she gets paid by the state. You could have, like you said, said, hey, here go the $1,300. I fully paid my debt back to the foundation. Let me go ahead and live my life and do my job over here at FAMU.
Exactly. They literally. State of Florida employees get paid by the month. They get paid money. I used to be one.
Me too.
She started at FAMU, I think it was September 1st. So that means she got a paycheck.
Last year.
Yeah, she got a paycheck 3 days before that. Man, if you don't get these $1,300 and get out my face.
It ain't about the money.